In this inaugural episode of Test Prep Theory, I want to talk about the source of a common mistake that students make that has nothing to do with content or rules or strategies, but about the way the test is designed and about the questions, because the idea behind this concept is the question is queen. And this may seem obvious that, of course, the question is super important, but you'd be surprised actually how often and how easy it is to forget the question and to get so caught up in the case of reading or writing, reading the passages, getting caught up in the choices. In the case of math, getting hung up on the formulas I use and doing the math and writing it all down and whatever the case may be to solve it, that we lose track of what was the question actually asking for. And many times students, when they get a question wrong, it's not because they did anything wrong in terms of solving it in some ways. They were just answering the wrong question. They were answering the question they remembered, or the one that they interpreted, rather than the one that's there. So what I have here are three questions, one from reading, one from writing, and one from math. And I want to show where there's some subtleties in these questions that you want to keep in mind as you're answering them. And if you ever get stuck on a question, one of the first things to do is reread it. Reread the question, make sure you didn't miss anything, make sure you didn't misinterpret anything, because that's often a source of issue. So looking at this first one from reading, the question is, the passage indicates that when the narrator began working for Edward Crimsworth, he viewed Crimsworth as A. The biggest problem that students have when answering this question is they forget, or they just miss, that the question's asking about the narrator's opinion on Crimsworth when he began working for him. Not now, not later, but when he began working for him in that particular time. Because part of this passage, what's discussed is the relationship between the narrator and Crimsworth evolves over time. And what a lot of students do when they answer this is they answer about their relationship now, in the moment, rather than, as the question's asking for, when the narrator began working for Crimsworth. So that little difference is enough to get this question wrong. You may read the passage correctly, you may properly get their relationship now, but if you answer the wrong question, it doesn't matter. Let's take a look at this example from writing. Which choice gives a second supporting example that is most similar to the example already in the sentence? When I go over this question with students, I'll ask them, okay, how did you get whatever it is that you got? And very often what they will do is they will give an explanation that has nothing to do with giving a second supporting example most similar to the one already in the sentence. There'll be some other issue. It'll sound good, or, it kind of works with this idea or that idea, but it's not actually responding to the question. So we have to keep that question in mind. The question is queen. It defines everything that we're doing. And if we proceed answering these questions, answering the questions we think are being asked, or answering the question we remember rather than one that's there, we can miss important details, and we could let questions slip by us that we really could get. And this can happen in math as well. So here's a math example. In one semester, Doug and Laura spent a combined 250 hours in the tutoring lab. If Doug spent 40 more hours in the lab than Laura did, how many hours did Laura spend in the lab? The classic mistake here is to do all the work, set it up, do the work, get an answer, but instead of giving Laura's hours, giving Doug's, right? So don't give Doug. And this happens a lot because we spend so much time doing the math and thinking it through that we get to an answer and then we just put it as the answer without thinking, wait, is that actually what they want, or do they want some other thing related to that? So in general, kind of two tactics to take with you. One, if you get stuck, as we said before, make sure you reread the question. That's one of the first things to do. Yes, the passage, yes, the choices matter, but reread the question. Make sure you're not missing any important clues or qualifiers that will help you find what you should be looking for. The question is really important. Second, when you get an answer, especially in math, it's not a bad idea to just take another glance at the question. Just make sure you're actually answering it. So in the case of math, make sure when you get an answer that that's what they want, that they want X instead of Y, or they want A plus B instead of A, or whatever it might be. In this case, that they want Laura instead of Doug's hours. Make sure you reread the question. Make sure that you're actually answering what they wanted you to find, not something else that's related. And that can save you a lot of otherwise avoidable mistakes.